I spent most of my career in Congress trying to get a single food safety inspection agency and explain the alphabet soup that we currently have. I wish you good luck in the next year that I'm here. I'll help you if I can. There's another topic that you've been engaged in that is near and dear to my heart, and that is known as the line speed rule. When I was working my way through college, I spent 4 months working in a slaughterhouse in East St. Louis, Illinois. Hunter Packing Company, now later John Morrell. And I learned what it was to work the line on the kill and the cut. I'm sure you know the difference. And the kill,
Yes, sir.
of course, is when that hog meets its fate and ultimately ends up in a chilled room to be carved up the next day. We had a union contract, and the union contract said that we were expected to process on the kill 225 hogs an hour. That was a pretty busy day, 1,800 hogs at the end of the day. I worked on that line and I learned a lot. It was hot, it was loud. There were 240-pound hogs rushing through there, one every 15 seconds, and it was dangerous as hell. People I worked with collapsed on the job, some were mauled by the machinery, and a lot of them were hurt. Some of the sharpest knives I've ever seen in my life were used by these men and women as part of their daily work, and they had the scars to show for it. So your experience in this issue is one I want to explore for a minute. It sounds to me like the decision's been made by the Trump administration to ignore the court ruling and to move forward with line speeds which are unimaginable. What about the safety of the workers? Has that been taken into consideration?
Thank you so much, and thank you for putting context with your question, Senator. I really appreciate it. I am committed to moving forward with the modernization and listening to the results of the study, and if confirmed, we will move forward with the modernized inspection system. However, we are the agency is very committed to worker safety and providing safe working conditions, not only for the workers in the plant, as well as for our inspectors. In the report and in the response from USDA, you can see from the publicly available information, the industry is urged to look at the results of that report because, as you mentioned, the jobs can be difficult and demanding. And it urges the industry to look at the report and to develop best practices that can be followed by the industry, including knife sharpening, providing medical care, encouraging workers to take time off, and also maintaining our relationship with OSHA will be very important.
Let me ask you a specific question. In March of this year, U.S. Department of Agriculture Secretary Rollins announced that FSIS will extend waivers allowing pork and poultry facilities to maintain higher line speeds, and USDA will no longer require plants to submit redundant worker safety data, citing 2 recent studies they commissioned about line speeds and worker safety. Are you backing off? Is the department backing off this issue of safety?
As you know, OSHA oversees worker safety and FSIS will oversee the food safety of the product.
But in terms of the safety in the plant and the speed of the line, that was a decision you worked on in the Department of Agriculture.
I was not involved in that decision. I haven't been in the agency or been at the table for that decision making.
Thank you very much. Mr. Walk, it's unfair to think that we can ask any hard questions with your cheering section behind you. Your lovely daughters and your family.
Thank you,
but
Senator.
I am going to ask you this question. President Trump's decision to fire inspector generals, all 18 firings, without providing any rationale, would put any new inspector general in a position to worry about the job security of the undertaking. Can you tell me what you think about the firing of all these inspector generals at one time by President Trump?
Senator, I would say that the IG Act authorizes the president to remove inspector generals at will.
But of course, there was a requirement in the law of notifying Congress in advance and the reason for the firing. and that wasn't complied with. Does that concern you?
Senator, I would say that that issue, in fact, the entire issue, that our previous IG is a named plaintiff in a case specifically against USDA. So I can't opine on that particular issue because it is an issue that was in the case or is in the case.
I'll make one last point. On January 25th, I joined Chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chuck Grassley, in sending a letter notifying President Trump that he did not provide the rationale for Congress and thus had not followed the law in the firings of these inspector generals. That was in January. We have not received any response, satisfactory response from President Trump on those firings. I would say if we're going to have a law, the president should be required to follow it. Thank you.
At a Senate Agriculture Committee hearing on Wednesday, Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois directed tough questions to John Walk, the nominee to serve as Inspector General for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, and to Dr. Brazier, a nominee involved in food safety oversight. The exchange covered two major topics: worker safety in the meatpacking industry and President Trump's mass firing of inspectors general. Durbin opened by revisiting his long-standing legislative goal, the creation of a single, unified food safety inspection agency. He lamented the existing alphabet soup of overlapping federal agencies and regulations that often leads to confusion and inefficiency in enforcing food safety standards. Offering his help to Dr. Brazier, he urged her to continue pushing for reforms that would streamline the system and better protect both consumers and workers. The senator then shifted to an issue that he said was deeply personal: the line speed rule in meatpacking plants. Drawing on his own experience as a young man working in a slaughterhouse in East St. Louis, Illinois, Durbin painted a vivid picture of the difficult and dangerous conditions faced by plant workers. He described working on the kill line, where hogs weighing over 200 pounds passed by every few seconds. The work, he said, was loud, hot, exhausting, and extremely hazardous. Workers often collapsed from heat or fatigue, while others suffered serious injuries from the machinery or the sharp knives used to process the animals. Durbin recalled that under his union contract at the time, the line processed 225 hogs per hour, already a demanding pace. He expressed alarm that the Trump administration had moved to raise these line speeds even further, ignoring both a federal court ruling and serious safety concerns. "What about the safety of the workers?" he asked. "Has that been taken into consideration?" Dr. Brazier thanked Durbin for the context and acknowledged the dangers of the job. She said the USDA remains committed to advancing modernization efforts in food inspection, but also prioritizes worker safety. She pointed to a publicly available USDA report urging the meatpacking industry to implement better safety measures, including proper knife sharpening, medical care for injured workers, and allowing workers to take adequate breaks. Maintaining strong collaboration with the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, she added, would continue to be vital for ensuring safe working environments in slaughterhouses and processing plants. Durbin pressed further, referencing a March announcement by Agriculture Secretary Rollins that USDA would extend waivers allowing pork and poultry plants to operate at higher line speeds. The department had also decided to stop requiring plants to submit detailed worker safety data, citing studies suggesting that faster line speeds did not necessarily increase injuries. Durbin asked bluntly if the department was backing off its commitment to safety. Dr. Brazier responded that while OSHA has primary responsibility for worker safety, USDA's role focuses on ensuring the food products themselves are safe for consumers. She clarified that she was not part of the decision to extend the waivers or change safety reporting requirements, as she had not yet been serving in the agency at that time. The hearing then turned to John Walk, the nominee for USDA Inspector General. Durbin questioned him about President Trump's firing of 18 inspectors general across the federal government, all without providing an official explanation. He pointed out that under the Inspector General Act, the president is required to notify Congress in advance and give reasons for any dismissal. That legal requirement, Durbin said, had not been followed. Walk replied that while the law does allow the president to remove inspectors general at will, it also clearly mandates that Congress be notified of the reasons, a step that was skipped in this case. He added that because a former inspector general was currently involved in litigation over the matter, he could not offer detailed comments on the ongoing case. Durbin was not satisfied with that answer. He reminded Walk that he and Senator Chuck Grassley, the Republican chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, had jointly written to President Trump in January, insisting on an explanation for the firings. Despite their bipartisan request, Durbin said, the White House had never provided a response. He warned that ignoring congressional oversight in this way undermines accountability and weakens the checks and balances designed to prevent abuse of power. In closing, Durbin reiterated that no one, not even the president, is above the law. He stressed that if the administration expects the public to respect legal authority, it must follow the same rules it enforces. The senator's remarks underscored his broader theme throughout the hearing, that both worker safety and governmental integrity depend on leaders who value transparency, responsibility, and respect for the law.